Hello and welcome to another episode of the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review Podcast. This is episode 50. On this show, we strive to showcase gun reviews, gear, and anything else a gun enthusiast may be looking for. We're evaluating products from an unbiased and honest perspective. I'm your host, Ryan Cross from the Firearms Radio Network, your source for broadcasts for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. Bandwidth for this episode is brought to you by Action Target. Today I have with me TJ, my faithful companion. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good, Ryan. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I find it really comical that both of us did something very similar this week in terms of collecting new firearms.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny myself. I guess if you want me to start with my This Week in Guns first. Wednesday evening of last week, I traded my Glock 19 for a Smith & Wesson Model 66, which is their K-frame 357 Magnum revolver. It's a little smaller than their 686, which I think more people are familiar with, but it's got the 2.5-inch barrel, and I kind of wanted it. Opportunity popped up to trade, and I jumped on it because it's kind of a easy decision for me, I suppose, as the Ryan from the Handgun Radio mentioned to me. Said there's plenty of Glocks out there. There's not so many 66s, so that kind of pushed me over the line to jump on the deal and get it.
I think if you're having an internal debate on whether or not you should get a revolver, Ryan Machad is the wrong person to ask.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said I'm not. Well, at first he told me just to get both, and I was like, "That's not how trades work, Ryan." But
well, similarly, this last weekend I traded my Glock 35 and a paintball gun I've had since I was in like junior high for a Smith & Wesson 686 plus. So it's a 7-round capacity, it's a 6-inch barrel. Stainless steel. It came with a Ergo rubber grip as well as these Ergo exotic wood Kookaburra grips. Super awesome. Like I think it was a really even trade. My Glock was really customized, and I had a bunch of mags and accessories. So that was about $1,100 or so for my paintball gun, and I got this revolver and 800 rounds of 357 Magnum to go with it, so I've got brass to last me pretty much a lifetime, and I've got enough bullets to not need to reload really for a while. So I'm pretty thrilled and ecstatic. I haven't been to the range yet, but I really am looking forward to it this weekend. Yeah, I think we both came out on top. I mean, like you said, there's lots of Glocks out there. But wheel guns, they're going to last you a lifetime, and they're just so much more tactile and authentic,
Yeah, speaking of tactile, if you hear a bunch of clicking throughout the show tonight, it's coming from us and our new acquisitions.
Yeah. And if you hear like a spinning sound and then me slamming my revolver shut like Dick Tracy, shoot me, because I'm not going to be doing that. But yeah, we're probably going to be like cocking our hammers and dropping them quite a lot over the show.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to resist click it and all that good stuff. But I wish I'd had as sweet of a deal as you, because I only got 50 rounds of ammo with mine, so I blew through most of that Saturday at the range. I had to kind of twist my own arm to save some. Only left with 10 rounds, so.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta sort through it all, but there's a variety, a smorgasbord of different bullet types. There's Hydra-Shocks, there's gold dots, there's wad cutters, there's some lead reloaded stuff, there's all sorts of different hollow points, and there's even one like antique military stamped round that I'm not going to shoot because I'm pretty sure it's got some historical value. I think it's like old like 308 military brass has just like 4 characters on the head case, on the head stamp. It's kind of like that, but it's 357 and it's just ball ammo, and it's got like a nice patina on it.
Huh.
So anyway,
that's pretty neat. It might even be black powder or something.
Yeah, might be
from way back in the day. Definitely. You mentioned the grips on yours. I just have these standard giant funky Hogue finger groove grips that I hate. So I'm gonna definitely be getting some new grips pretty soon here. Probably Friday I'll probably order some, and you can definitely look forward to a few reviews coming my way that are revolver related.
Nice. Yeah, and I got like a Galco leather holster with it too, and so
Sweet.
it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I didn't get a holster, so I'm gonna have to buy a new one of those too.
Oh darn.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that alien gear because at the moment I'm very cheap. So.
Yep. Actually, I just got an alien gear. I'm doing a review on it currently.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
but yeah, they're pretty nice holsters too, pretty interesting, and price point is, definitely get her done.
Yeah, they're
Um,
inexpensive, and everybody says they're pretty awesome from what I hear. So that's what I'm gonna go with.
yep. So just getting to announcements this week. It's the 50th episode, so hooray! Congratulations to us. Well, thank you to the listeners, first and foremost. If you've been listening from day one, through my rocky start, which came later on, like maybe last November or so, like episode 7 or 8. But if you've been listening this whole time, you're awesome, and we appreciate it. And we hope that it's meeting your expectations and exceeding them as we cover more and more episodes each week. Um, so the giveaways, I started doing this thing where I want listeners to come on the show, and that's the giveaway is you come on the show and you get some free stuff. And that's kind of your carrot and your incentive because I really want more listener participation. This week, I had the bright idea of doing something a little bit more unique and a little bit more open-ended. I've discovered these engraved gun parts on magplates.com. It's by a guy going under the company name of Bastion. So what he does is engraved AR-15 dust covers, magazine latches, charging handles. He's got engraved base plates for Glock, Smith & Wesson, Springfield magazines, and then he even does some art or graphics on like magazines and other like polymer Magpul type stuff. So what I'm going to do is the next person the next listener who's brand new to the airwaves to come on to the show, I'm going to get them one part of their choosing, and so they get to choose the engraving. So if you go onto their website, which is magplates.com, you can actually see just all the different stuff they have. So just for magplates alone, for instance, here's the one that I purchased for myself. It says 308 AC blackout, so I'll be putting this obviously on my blackout AR, so there's an extra indicator of what caliber it's chambered in, and less likely of somebody picking it up at the range and accidentally chambering 223 and ruining my gun. They also have 6.8 chamber engraving on that. They also have just a lot of morale, like funny stuff. Say hello to my little friend, get some Moulin Labe, some profanity stuff that could be your cup of tea, some Psalms 23:4 if you're more into the religious scripture on your stuff. Good old USA with the flag, biohazard symbol with zombie hunter, skull with liberator. And there's also some service stuff too. So the Marine logo with Semperfi. There's a lot to choose from, and I kind of you only get one thing because nothing's gonna really break my bank on here if it's just one thing. The dust covers are $16.99, so $17. I also got this. This is a magazine catch. So this goes. This is on the left side of the AR-15, kind of right above the close to the roll mark on the magwell. So this is just an extra little spot that they can engrave, and it's really easy to swap out. It just unthreads, and you can thread it back in. So that says 300 AAC as well. You can do your mag base plates as well. So there's a lot to choose from. You're going to have to go onto the website, magplates.com, and figure out exactly what you want and what kind of engraving you want. I'm not paying for a custom engraving at this point, so although I would entertain the idea, I'm not going to do it. I'll just straight up say that now. Maybe at some point we can do some custom, like Firearms Insider parts, but at this time, this is just what you can see on their website.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like when companies do some stuff to kind of spiff up your firearms.
Yeah. So, I mean, they got some cool stuff. I mean, and it doesn't. You're not really out of the party if you're rocking a Smith & Wesson M&P or an XD or an XDS by Springfield. There's a lot to choose from. You know, I'm not going to judge you either if you decide to get something with a skull on it, or I don't know if they have any butterflies, but there's no judgment. But yeah, still cool stuff. And having an art background, I can appreciate a little bit of that customization. You can even get like caliber designations on the back plate of your Glock, so 40, 45, 9mm, 10mm, that kind of stuff. So lots of artistic creativity for you to choose from on that. So magplates.com is the website for that. And all you got to do is join the podcast. And you might be asking yourself, well, how do I do that? You got to email me, cross@firearmsradio.tv, and we'll kind of set you up, make sure the technical stuff you got down. You need the internet. You need a computer or device with a microphone and internet connection, obviously. A Google Plus account, Google Hangout installed. You can do that from like a Droid device too, like a Droid tablet. You need a microphone. External is preferred. And then you need headsets. Video, if you have a webcam, that's appreciated. If you do and you don't want to be on the air live with your face, or you don't have a video source, that's fine too. We can do like an audio hangout, or you can join our Google Hangout, but only in audio form. That's fine too. So if you're interested, we record on Tuesdays between 7 p.m. Central Standard Time and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. There's a little bit of flexibility with that depending on what other guests are coming on that week. So if it really only works best with you with Wednesday, that's okay too. We can kind of bend with that. The important thing is just getting some people on here to join the conversation. So that's the announcements. Let's get right into the new product spotlight. TJ, what did Ruger bring us this week?
It looks like Ruger this week has brought us a brand new, completely original AR-556, which is basically Ruger's rendition of their of a standard M4 with collapsible buttstock, direct impingement, and all that good stuff. Basically, Ruger just came out with a budget level AR-15. A lot of people aren't thrilled, but I'm kind of excited to see a little more lower price entry from a good company that I've actually heard of. You see these other companies that might just be little fly-by-nights that are just kind of assembling guns and selling them for $700 at Walmart kind of thing. But I'm glad to see Ruger, big name, putting one out similar to what Smith & Wesson did with their Sport.
Yeah, the reception of this product was a little mixed. Still a lot of people excited for just having an MSRP come under $700. That's a good price for an AR that a lot of people have faith in the company that's behind it. Ruger makes good guns. They understand the market of people with lower that want to spend less on guns. It is a little ironic that they make black rifles because back in the day, Bill Ruger supported the assault weapons ban, but we're not going to get into that. I think that they've made it. They didn't slap just regular A2 stuff on there, so you got to give them credit. A lot of companies just get some surplus A2 parts and assemble them, put the roll mark on the receiver, call it good. They did. It's got some Ruger originality in there, so you got to give them some credit. The front sight base, it does have like an A2 style post or tower, but the gas block is a little bit unique. It's CNC'd. It has a bayonet lug, but it also has a swivel quick disconnect insert or hole. And that's something I haven't seen on a gas block. So that's a little unique. I mean, some people think it's cool, but I don't think so. The handguard it looks very much like just a regular GI handguard, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty standard. Back to that gas block real quick though. I noticed it was different. I just couldn't really figure out why, and I didn't realize that it was actually had a QD on it. So that's definitely neat. That's added value right there.
Yeah, and I can't tell in the pictures. It looks like the front sight post is white, but I'm not sure if that's just the lighting of the photo that was taken.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, because that would be awesome if it came with like a front post that had like a tritium insert in it.
Yeah, where are you seeing that picture?
If you go on their website and you click on features, kind of that horizontal navigation, and then you go down to adjustable sights. But I think it's just the glare from the photo. It does come with a folding down rear sight. It looks a lot like the Magpul MBus Gen 2s, but I guess it's Ruger's proprietary. I'm not sure. It looks polymer. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, I think it looks, like you said, it looks a lot like the Gen 2, but it definitely looks polymer. They don't really mention, but it's definitely spring-loaded, similar to the Magpuls.
Yeah,
it's got kind of the same lines and stylings of it, so that's pretty neat that they're including that. I know some companies just say, find your own rear sight.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, that's one of the cheapest parts on the gun. Just throw it on there.
Yeah.
So I always thought.
See what else. The bolt carrier, it's not your standard bolt carrier. It's got a black oxide finish to it, and the gas key is staked, and it is chrome plated, so it is got extra corrosion resistance. So you should be able to, of course, you want to lube your ARs, but you should be able to run it pretty reliably because of the extra finishes on that bolt and the gas key.
Yeah, that's pretty cool features right there. Like I said again, it's definitely packed with value-adding features. Because whenever I first saw it, I was thinking how it compared to the Smith & Wesson M&P Sport, and so I looked up the M&P Sport, and it's only $10. MSRP is only $10 less than the Ruger, so that's definitely tons of extra value for $10 additional, because the sports are kind of chopped down, watered down. They don't have the dust covers and the what else don't they have? They don't have the.
They don't have a forward assist, don't they?
Yeah, I think you're right. So they're definitely less features, and then especially with the added bolt coating, the front sight base with the built-in QD, and it looks like it's even got the kind of flared trigger guard versus the standard little bitty flat GI style, so that's pretty cool. And then, of course, it doesn't have the A2 pistol grip either, so that's pretty cool. It looks kind of Magpul-y, but it's branded with Ruger, so I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they teamed up with Magpul, or maybe they just got some heavy inspiration from Magpul.
Thank goodness, because if it came with an A2 grip, I would be laughing at it. Because that is just, you know how many A2 grips I have sitting in my drawers? Like, I probably got 6 or 7, and I know most people end up with extras. It's just because they're so plentiful. It's like, throwing on just a stock part that you had in a parts bin. So good on them for upgrading the grip. So they claim it's more ergonomic. With a better trigger reach for more precise trigger control. They say extended trigger reach. So that means that your trigger finger is a little bit farther back, so maybe the placement, or of course your hand is going to be unique, but concept behind that is that it gives you a better trigger pull because of the way they set your hand. And then also the barrel comes with a that's a muzzle brake or a flash hider?
I think it's a flash hider. It doesn't seem to be like a.
Yeah, it's the Ruger flash hider. It's really similar to, probably is exactly similar to the ones you see on like the gun sight scout rifles.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably the same ones.
Which is kind of like their Mini 14 style.
Right. It's kind of birdcage, but it's kind of like a retro. I don't know. It's kind of different.
Yeah.
It's not the traditional A2 birdcage that you see, but it's that similar style.
Yep. So that leads us. The most important part of an AR-15, obviously, is the barrel. So the barrel is 16.1 inches, medium contour barrel. So it's not that government profile pencil barrel, and it's got cold hammer forging, and it's got it's a 1 in 8 twist, so stabilizing bullets from 35 grains to 77 grains. That's a huge range. I don't know anyone loading 35 grain bullets in their AR-15, but
I think Hornady has some of their maybe like the VMAX or something, one of those similar type varmint rounds.
I know. I mean, 1 in 8 is a good compromise. It's not really the best at light or heavy bullets, but it's a good compromise between the two to just perform all around.
Yeah, it's a good twist to put on a barrel that's probably going to be somebody's only rifle, because at the budget price, it's either going to be their only rifle or at least their only rifle for a while until they can save up for maybe something better. So I think they made a good choice doing that, because I noticed a lot of budget rifles will have the 1 in 9, which a lot of people don't like because of its range is a little different.
Yeah. It does have a M4 feed ramps, so that's kind of something standard. Anyone that knows the AR-15 things to ask when you're looking to buy a new one is, does it have M4 feed ramps? Yes, it does. And it does also have that matte black oxide finish to keep down the glare and corrosion resistance, and also just to look evil and black. So it also includes one 30-round Magpul PMAG magazine. I'm not sure which gen. I'm guessing it's Gen 2 from the picture. The picture is a Gen 2 magazine, and there's probably a bunch of those floating around. Magpul's not going to hand out the new Gen 3s with the dot matrix on them, really. So it's still a great magazine, by all means.
So, is Magpul getting rid of the Gen 2s? Or
they probably have so much surplus that they don't mind gun companies packaging it with other rifles.
Okay, I gotcha. They're trying to phase them out by sending them for factory stock kind of rifles. That's pretty cool that it comes with a PMAG rather than your standard old GI mag.
Yeah. So then the butt stock is just they didn't really do anything special there. It's just the standard 6-position M4 style butt stock. It's got the Ruger logo that's molded into the plastic. Nothing really special there, no padding, but they know that most people are going to upgrade that pretty quickly. One thing that I did just notice looking at these pictures a little closely is the front sight tower on that gas block is serrated on the side that's the plane that's facing you, and so they do that a lot. Like pistol sight manufacturers will serrate the side that's going to be facing you to cut down on glare. That's something you don't see every day. So that's a good thing that they just threw into the manufacturing process that adds a little bit more value to it, is that, oh, hey, that's got some functionality. You don't see it every day. It took them an extra step in the process, but ultimately they're thinking about, what are all the extra lower cost bells and whistles we can throw in here to really give it bang for the buck.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They didn't even mention that in the features.
Yeah, they totally should, because
you would imagine they would, but I've seen Ruger do something similar before, where they came out. Basically, it seems like they came out with a Generation 2 LCP and didn't even mention it. It had taller sights and a shorter trigger, and they're just like, whatever, we'll let people figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, that's kind of silly not to talk about little features like that.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, I would get this and throw a carry handle on there just to have like a little bit more of a modern M4, M4gery, whatever you want to call it, Colt fanboys out there. Um, but already too many. I sell one, but I always somehow end up with the same number, and I'm not gonna. I'm getting out of the AR market. I'm calling it right now. But the price point of this, what do you think? I mean, you think it's a winner, or you think it's just another day late, dollar short entry to the already saturated AR-15 market?
At first I thought that, but kind of thinking about it a little better. That's kind of my intro to it was a little sarcastic because at on the surface it is another budget AR, but when you actually dig down into it, it's a high value budget AR because, like I mentioned throughout the talkings, I guess you could say, it has a lot of features that a lot of the budget ARs do. Just like I said, look at the Smith & Wesson M&P Sport for $10 less MSRP, and look at what you're sacrificing for that $10. So I imagine it's going to come out to be right around the same price as the Sport. So you're going to look at those side by side and say, oh, well, I get a forward assist, dust cover, this serrated front sight, a PMAG, a folding rear sight, all this pretty cool stuff for only $10 more. Heck yeah, I'm gonna get the Ruger instead of the Smith & Wesson, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. I would, if I was to get this, I think one of the first modifications I would make is that two-piece handguard. I ditched that, but that new Magpul, that SL, like the slim Mo handguard that has those little tabs that go alongside the gas block, I think that would be pretty legit on this by Ruger, because I mean it's not. I guess it doesn't bother me that CNC gas block. I mean, you can kind of see the barrel going through, but I think that Magpul SL forend would just kind of cover that up a little bit and make it a little bit more, I guess, just smooth and a little bit more streamlined. And you'd still have access to the bayonet lug. It's kind of weird that you put a bayonet lug on it, but the barrel isn't government profile. With the the area of decreased outside diameter that the bayonet ring sits on when you mount an actual bayonet. So it's kind of goofy. I don't quite understand why you'd put a lug on a barrel that has a medium contour barrel, because you wouldn't really put a bayonet on that barrel.
Yeah, it's also not government length, so bayonet's gonna sit funny on it, because you think the M4 is a 14.5-inch barrel versus a 16-inch barrel.
And the A2 flash hider, the government birdcage flash hider that also interfaces with the bayonet as well. So it's little differences that are gonna make it to where you're not putting a bayonet on there. But I guess there's accessories that mount to that lug, but they also kind of depend on the sling loop as well. So I'm kind of interested in why they chose to do that. Maybe because bayonet lugs are on the list of scary AR-15 features, and so they thought, well, it might not serve a function, but the liberals hate it, so we better put it on there.
Yeah, could be, which is kind of funny considering I've heard people that have spoken with Ruger, and they asked them why they put all that funny stuff on their pistols, and they said because they can sell them in all 50 states with what they have on them, like the loaded chamber indicators and all that other magazine disconnects and stuff. So it seems a little backwards for them to just throw a bayonet lug on for the sake of throwing it on there. But you never know. You never know when they're thinking.
Yep. So, I mean, love it or hate it, it's something that's going to be on the market. I think that, there's so many other small ARs that are just all A2 parts. I think this is going to rise a little bit to the top and compete right with the M&P, the Sport.
Yeah, Sport. Yeah. So, I think it's gonna probably kind of push out the M&P, honestly. And I think give it a few months and we'll have an AR-556 in a Magpul set up with probably the MOE stock and that SL forend,
Yeah, well, it's direct impingement. That's the big cost savings too, is just doing it the old-fashioned way and not going with a piston-driven like the SR556 that they already offer. One other thing is, in Ruger's fashion, it would have been nice if they did some left-handed models for these, because it seems like their last few offerings, they've taken in consideration the lefties out there. Also, different caliber configurations. I mean, why is there not a 300 blackout available on this? I mean, that would be just a little. They'll get there. Maybe I'm just jumping ahead of the horse there.
Yep.
So
Glock had to start with a 9mm full size before they had a subcompact 45.
Yeah, but it wasn't like they were already entering a market where there are polymer striker-fired pistols everywhere.
Yeah, I guess you got a point. They'll get there though. I'm sure Ruger will add some offerings pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm a huge Ruger fan, so I can't knock them.
Yep.
So if you want to go to check that out, go to Ruger's website, ruger.com. Go to auto loading rifles, and it's the first one on the list, AR-556. So next up this week, we have something that's on the opposite end of the consumer spectrum. This is definitely meant for the higher end pleasure seekers out there. This is the SIG 1911 Super Target. And as much as I make fun of SIG fanboys, this is awesome, and I cannot say anything bad about it because it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty neat. It's there's a 5-inch, right? Kind of looks a little longer, but I think that might just be this picture that I'm looking at.
Yeah, it definitely looks 5 inches.
Okay, yeah, so it's like a standard length 1911 5-inch, but it's got the SIG styling that you're maybe not used to seeing, because I don't know, it seems like a lot of people aren't even aware of the SIG 1911s, and a lot of people don't even claim them as 1911s. If you visit any of the forums, they're like they just say the SIGs, so those aren't 1911s because of this feature and that feature and blah blah blah, whatever. But I think some people are just a little too picky. But this particular model has some.
Still there?
With a rear sight. I'm sorry, what's that?
You're skipping out. You might want to restart.
Okay, where at?
At this when you started talking about the features.
Okay. Yeah, the front sight's got a big high visibility fiber optic front sight and a adjustable rear sight, and a lot of the features you see on 1911s that are made for competition, like the ring, skeletonized ring hammer, the extended beaver tail, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it definitely does not look like your grandpa's 1911.
Honestly, from the first pic, it doesn't look like a 1911 at all.
I know, it's like a futuristic 1911. It's like a 2111.
There you go.
Yeah, right. So it's got the SIG circular logo, which is kind of retro on it, on both the custom grip that's got a magwell built into it, and on the slide. It's got a fiber optic front sight. The slide is nitron stainless. It's got a serrated top, and it's also got serrations on the rear, on the sides. The rear sight is adjustable target sight. Like TJ said, the skeletonized combat hammer. The trigger is also skeletonized. It's got an enhanced beaver tail safety, front strap checkering, an 8-round single stack magazine. Like I said, it does the back mainspring housing is checkered as well, and like I said, that wood grip does have a magwell kind of built into it. This is like one of the coolest 1911s I've seen that are offered, factory. I mean, custom, you can do whatever you want. It's John Browning's gift to man. I think if he saw this, I'm not sure what he'd think.
Yeah,
I think purists,
kind
of course.
Huh?
Yeah. I think he'd drool a little bit, and he'd be kicking himself for not, I don't know. He might have a heart attack. Let's just put it there. So MSRP on this guy is there's a couple different variations, but it looks like $13.99, so $1,399. But you can also expect the MSRP or the retail price to be down in like the $1,100, $1,200 range, which is kind of right up there with like Wilson Combats and some Dan Wessons. So it's not like extremely high, I think, or even Kimber's for that much. I mean, golly.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I haven't looked into the prices of some of the higher end 1911s lately, but I know. I mean, SIG's a good company, good brand. So I imagine you get what you pay for in it.
Yeah. So
I don't.
the wood on those grips is Scandinavian birch,
Huh. Sounds
which
fancy.
does sound very fancy.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but it does look like it has an extended magazine release and an extended slide release lever
Yep.
too. So for added value.
Yes. 25 line per inch checkering on the front and the back straps. And then it's let's see, the fiber optic on the top. It's a little bit longer than most standard fiber optic rails, or I'm not sorry, fiber optic sights. So it's kind of the sights are meant to be able for you to perfectly tune them with the gun and the load that you're using, the 45 load, for competitions. So this is kind of just their factory produced target pistol. Man, that would make a beautiful range queen anyway, if you didn't compete at all. Um, so the Nitron finish, it's kind of similar to their satin black finish. It's just like a dark matte gray with like a bead blasted look, and I think it works really well with that color of Scandinavian birch on that grip.
Yeah, that light wood with the dark gray it's definitely stand out versus the standard kind of walnut and blue look.
Yeah, I mean it's not like a blinged out like barbecue gun. Like, oh man, look at this, and it like can bring down a commercial airliner with the reflection coming off the chrome. It's like they say it's aged to perfection, a time-honored classic, re-engineered for the 21st century. Um, and I think that basically I think one of the strongest thing that should be their main tagline, just from a marketing standpoint, is history is worth repeating. Well, as far as this is history worth repeating, tying back to the origins of 1911. That tagline, oh, I love that. That should be like right on. I think that should be engraved on the slide. That is so awesome.
There you go.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that, I don't think SIG actually has it on their website. So in the show notes, I actually have an article to the guns.com link. But stay tuned to SIG's website to see that. But you can also head over to their Facebook page and see a little bit more details and different photos on that, which I highly, highly recommend. So next up, I actually have something that's a little bit more home do-it-yourself. It's somebody offering a product on eBay that is actually getting a lot of publicity, and it's kind of a little bit innovative. It's a brass catcher. It's called the Brass Shark, and Shark seems to be an acronym that I'm not finding what the acronym is. It's basically a big, clear polycarbonate hopper that is CNC machined. It's shatterproof, and it's clear, so you can see how much brass you've collected. And instead of like hanging or going onto your top rail and kind of interfering with your controls and your optics, this actually mounts to your quad rail on your handguard. So that's a little bit unique in that it allows you to still be able to get your finger up and into the magazine release, and then it's not hindering your ability to put optics on there. It's easy to kind of open the bottom hatch and drop all the brass out of it into a larger container like a bucket. Especially if you shoot 300 blackout, you know what I'm talking about, because you do not want to picking up very meticulously all your 300 blackout, because that looks sneaky. It's. I guess if you're a seasoned brass miner, you'd be able to pick it out from the 7.62 by 39 on the ground. But if you're shooting some loads with some powder that's kind of dirty and it kind of takes the sheen off your brass, and it lands in a pile of 7.62 by 39 that's, I don't know, a little bit more of that brownish steel color. Oh, it's such a pain in the butt.
Yeah, you're losing that case if that's the case.
Yeah, and the work, especially if you're making your own brass, you're cutting it down, or even if you bought it, you do not want to lose a single piece of brass in the gravel. So having this is a big plus. MSRP is $49.34. So I think it's pretty affordable for what it is. It should last you a lifetime. That polycarbonate is meant to take a beating. You, of course, shouldn't be beating it, but it will take a beating.
Yeah, and I don't know if you mentioned kind of in detail how it attaches. I know you mentioned that it does attach to the front rail, but the way it appears to be working is they have like two standard like Picatinny scope rings, and then that attach to your 3 o'clock rail section, and then the brass catcher has probably a 1-inch rod or tube or something like that that goes forward to where that mounts into those 1-inch rings. So that's how it attaches without going onto the top. If we didn't describe that well enough.
Oh, thanks, buddy. So the only downside of that is obviously it takes up the whole length of your 3 o'clock rail. But if you're looking for a brass catcher that's a little bit more robust and sturdy than just a bag that's hanging off the top of your gun, this would be it. Of course, throwing it in your case or in your safe, you would want to remove this when you're not using it, because it adds considerably to the profile of the gun itself. But all you do is you can just loosen those scope rings and just slide it right off. And there you go. So the benefit to that is you can adjust it too, depending on your rails. If you've got like a free float tube, and it's got like what's that hipster mounting thing everyone's doing now? Oh, keyhole mod.
Key mod.
Yeah, key mod. So if you got those, sorry, I just insulted everybody running key mod. But if you can adjust, if you've only got room for like a little bit of rail, you can still make it work. So there's some flexibility with that, but very valuable, especially if you're shooting a different caliber that's a little bit more unique and a pain in the butt to pick up at the range. I mean, the fact that you don't have to take it off to empty it is pretty cool too. Unlike the other ones, like the cloth ones, you just open up the hatch and pour it all out into a bucket and then close the hatch and you can keep shooting.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool feature. Another thing, I'm not entirely sure, but you could probably just take the bottom off. Another thing I've seen with those little bags, those mesh bags that you're talking about, some of them have a zipper on the bottom to where you can unzip it. And then that way, if you're not wanting to empty it out so much, like if you're the only one at the range and you don't mind picking your brass up off the ground, but you don't want them flying every which way, you could just let them dump out onto the ground, but they're all going to be in one nice little pile right under your rifle.
Yeah. Unless you're moving, of course.
Right.
But the door on this actually seems to be not on the bottom of the unit. It's kind of on the bottom, but really on the side, or I guess technically facing the same direction as your muzzle. So if you can open that door and you could shoot, and you'd have some brasses stay in there. But ideally, when you want to empty this thing, you take your rifle, you'd open or hinge open that door and tilt your rifle forward, and then gravity would make all the brass spill out.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like it's, when I say like bottom hatch or whatever, that's what I was referring to.
Okay.
So this is a or one of us, a guy that has an idea and put the product out on the market, and is trying to bring something innovative to the rest of us. So hands up to that guy. The seller his name is Plastic Revolution. He's got 100% positive feedback on his eBay store. He's actually got quite a bit of products that he's been making with his CNC machine. So make sure to check that out too if you're interested. I think I saw this on the guns.com or not AR-15 forums is where I saw this. So kind of cool. So I've got a link to his the eBay page where you can buy this brass catcher. So next up, let's get right into the sponsor product. So please be sure to check out Action Target by either clicking on one of the affiliate links on the Firearms Insider website or go to firearmsinsider.tv/actiontarget. And remember to use the promo code radio15 to get 15% off your order of some really awesome steel targets that should last you well over a lifetime. This week, we're talking about the PT IPSC Hit Zone Reactive Steel Target. So what it is, it's an IPSC torso made to the exact size and dimensions of the standard metric target, the cardboard target, and the A zone, which is the rectangular portion of the target that is not worth the most points or the highest score. That's actually been cut out and replaced with a reactive steel plate that's painted green. So that way you get instant feedback that you've hit the A zone, which is what you're after, and you don't have to reset. You don't have to cover up any holes with tape. You just keep on shooting. If you miss the A zone, you'll be able to see that with your splatter on the rest of the target silhouette. What do you think? I think you muted yourself.
Yep, sorry, I had to check. I was coughing a second ago. Anyways, I think it's pretty cool. I like reactive swingers style targets, so I think it's pretty cool to have it would be pretty useful in that competition type setting. Like you said, you don't have to go and paste stuff.
Yeah, I mean, cardboard's always going to be cheaper than steel, but for MSRP of $429, you could have something that you can just reuse over and over and over. And when you're practicing, I mean, when you hit the A zone, and that's the score that matters. So it pretty much can help you refine your shooting from different positions and getting the highest possible score. So it does, due to the size of the head plate, a 3-foot stand is the default height that Action Target recommends. And if you want to order it with a different stand height, you have to just specify it in the comments section during the checkout process. So the torso dimensions is 18 inches by 30 inches, and the A zone cutout is 6 inches by 11 inches. So even though they do have a drop down for stand height, they really recommend 3 feet. So if you try and recommend 2 feet or 1 feet, they might have to contact you and figure out why you chose to do that. Just because it's a taller torso than some of their reduced size ones.
Yeah, 'cause this is a full size. Those targets are IPSC and IDPA size targets are pretty large. I mean, they're full man size. So I imagine you want a good tall stand to get some clearance off the ground.
Yep. So all the steel is AR-550 steel, and it's compatible with rifle shooting, but it's got to be distances greater than 100 yards with ammunition that does not exceed 3,000 feet per second. So obviously shooting the target closer than 100 yards or with a rifle that's shooting faster than 3,000 feet per second may cause dents and deformities and rendering the target unsafe to shoot, because you want your bullets to splatter on a smooth surface. If you've got craters that you've shot this thing with your Mosin Nagant at 50 yards, You're gonna have some unpredictable ricochets and splashback with some of that spalding. So definitely want to be smart about it. But if you're just shooting this thing pistol, dude, it's gonna last you forever. And well, that's not a guarantee, but it's gonna last you a long time. There's no seams or anything exposed that you could accidentally shoot and weaken, and henceforth, take some life out of your target. Really easy to set up and take apart, and the stand is really good too. So, and it just uses their standard base stand with the 4 feet. So I think this is pretty awesome. I actually wish this was in their store when I was making an order, because I was kind of looking for something like this too. Just because it's a big reactive area, and I don't shoot IPSC, but it's a big enough area to where you could take someone new to shooting, and it would be an accomplishment for them to hit the center, to kind of provide much better feedback than just shooting at paper or shooting at cardboard.
Yeah, definitely. It's always nice to have something kind of fun and reactive for them to see.
Yeah. And the fact that it's one target, it's meant for pistol, but you can definitely use your rifle too. I mean, your AR-15 is not going to be exceeding 300 feet per second, so you're good there, but you still want to keep it. I'm sorry, I said 300 feet per second. Add a 0 to that. 3,000 feet per second. That's why I'm not a doctor. But at 100 yards and farther with your standard 5.56 carbine for practicing, that would be plenty fine too. Although usually you're not shooting for score with your carbine. But anyway, I digress. If you want to check that out, go to store.actiontarget.com and go to, let's see, where is that under? It's under steel targets, and then under the torso family. Actually go into reactive steel, and you'll see it there too. So it's the PT IPSC A-Zone target. So let's get into the main topic, the panel discussions of our Firearms Insider reviews. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go ahead unless you feel like it.
By all means.
All right. I have the Concealment Solutions Python Gun Belt, which is, if you're not familiar with Concealment Solutions, it's a holster maker out in Utah that makes some hybrid style holsters and a few other type of holsters. But he also offers a gun belt, which is it's a heavy duty double layer leather belt. They don't have the kind of what do they call them, like the instructor type belts. This is all they offer is leather, which is what I was looking for whenever I wanted a new belt. And there's really not a whole lot of people that make leather gun belts for a decent price, and you don't have to wait 6 months or something like that. So whenever I saw these, I definitely jumped on them, because I think the competitor is probably 30-40% more expensive, and you got to wait 6 months or something along those lines. But like I said, it's a double thick cowhide leather. It's a good sturdy leather. I think it's at least a 1/4 inch thick with the two pieces, and they're sewn together, not glued or anything. So you definitely don't have to worry about them peeling back or anything like that. The belt buckles are replaceable. It comes with just kind of like a standard generic chrome belt buckle, and then the sizes, they have different sizes. And colors, they don't have a whole lot of colors, which I guess is kind of one detractor. They have the black, mahogany, light brown, dark brown, and tan, which I would say it'd be kind of neat to see some custom tooling, I guess you could say, patterns and all that stuff. But as for now, they only offer just a plain, slick leather belt. They don't offer any other belt sizes either. It's roughly 1.5 inches. Mine's actually just slightly thinner than 1.5 inches. So if you're looking for a super wide, like 1.75-inch belt, you're gonna have to go elsewhere. But I think this belt's plenty thick and plenty wide enough to hold your firearms, accessories, magazines, and all that good stuff. So It actually fits all of the 1.5 inch thickness fits all of my slacks along with jeans, so I've never really seen any reason to go thinner or thicker. So I'm pretty happy with that. The company itself, Concealment Solutions, is a great company to deal with. I've bought multiple items from them, and I've actually reviewed one of their holsters before. And if I was rating the company itself, I'd definitely have to give them a 10 because they hit it out of the park when it comes to customer service. My belt, actually, I had one of the other offerings from another company. They offer, rather than the standard 1 inch belt hole, 1 inch spaced out belt holes, they offer 3/4 inch, which a lot of people say is better whenever you're carrying. It gives you a little more range, and with different handguns and all that kind of stuff if you're carrying inside the waistband, which I wanted, but it doesn't list it on the site. So I sent him an email asking for it, and he said, "Sure thing. Just make sure you note it on the order, and I'll get it done." So he did, and I was satisfied with that. Another good thing about this company is their turnaround time. On their website it says availability usually ships in 5 to 7 business days. From my experience, you're probably going to have it within that 7 to 10 business days, because I think every time I've ordered, except for one time when I think he was at SHOT Show, every time I've ordered, I've had it the following day, the same day of the following week. So if I ordered it on a Friday, I had it by the next Friday. So it's great return, especially since they're handmade and made to order. So it's definitely great customer service, great shipping. The MSRP on them is for the, let me see, the 30 to 48 inch waist is $54.99, and the 50, let me make sure I say this right, 50 to 58 is $64.99, so you add $10 for that. They also offer a Kydex lined, which I didn't opt for because I kind of thought it might be a little too stiff and aggravating, but I haven't tried it, but I've heard good things about it. So if you want the Kydex lined leather, which basically they just insert a Kydex piece in between the two pieces of leather, those are $74.99 and $84.99 for the two different sizes. I didn't come too prepared on this review today, so I don't have what other people are saying in quotes, but I have heard great things from tons of people. A lot of people like I mentioned, the turnaround time, the cost, and the great customer service. So if I to rank this, I'd probably give it an 8.5. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'd probably give it an 8.5 just because it's a great product with great product customer service, but I'd probably ding it a little bit because of the customizability is kind of neat. I think it'd be pretty neat to see different, like I said, tooling options, different belt buckle options, but as of right now, it's all standard.
All right. Yeah, so that's Jason Christensen?
Yep, same guy that makes the Black Mamba holsters.
Yeah. Good company, good guy. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, I mean, I listened to the Gun Dudes a lot in my early podcast days, so I definitely heard a lot about that guy. But he's making these out of his house in Utah, and it's good to support him.
Yep, and I wear one every day. I don't think he's making them out of his house anymore. I think he moved up to a bigger facility, but it's his full-time job. But pretty good guy to support. He's very friendly, and he's always quick on emails. But like I said, I wear one every day. I didn't want one of the instructor-style belts because I have to dress business casual every day at work, so I didn't want to go in with a 511 or an Aries gear belt or something like that and have all the super tactical webbing and all that good stuff. So I opted for a sturdy leather belt.
Nice. Right on. So this week, what I'm reviewing is the Apex Tactical. Kind of doing a couple different products rolled into one review because they were all kind of necessary in the modifications I was making to my Smith & Wesson M&P Compact. So there's the M&P Aluminum Action Enhancement Trigger, and they call that the AEK. And then there's the Apex M&P Duty Carry Enhancement or Action Enhancement Kit, and then there's also the polymer armor's block that you kind of need. It helps you in getting your pistol level so you can punch and disassemble it. And so that's kind of the things that I'm going to be talking about today. So first, I'll get into the armor's block. It's this 2 parts. They're both plastic. The bottom has kind of a circular weight to help give it a little bit extra, keep it from sliding around as much. It also has storage for 2 parts, and they've got this punch, which has like a little tiny dimple in the punch, and that's because a couple of the pins on the M&P pistol actually are like roll pins. So that little nipple fits on the inside of that roll pin, and then obviously it helps in guiding that. And so when you hit it with a hammer, it doesn't slide right off the roll pin and put a big gash in your polymer pistol. And then it also comes with an Allen wrench that also fits in there really nicely. So that's useful for taking out the set screw that's in your rear sight. I'll get into why you want to do that too. They boast that it doesn't take a gunsmith to do this, but I found that it does come in handy a lot. I did have to use my gunsmith too, just because he has more experience and he has the tools to make small things move small distances without breaking anything, and I don't. I broke a pin when trying to do. I broke a roll punch trying to do this myself, and so that's about the time when I stopped myself because I know I'd ruined something, and I took it to him and he finished it up for me. So the top half of the armorer's block is kind of double-sided, and it's got these bosses that you can it's all just set on a screw with a nut, and you can unscrew them and kind of slide them around in these slots and then tighten them down. And so the advantage to that is you take your M&P pistol and you take the slide off, which I'm not going to bother to do. You know what? Why the hell not? Magazine. It's unloaded. Excuse me. Yeah, M&P. I reviewed this pistol before on the Firearms Insider, and I complained about how it took an extra step to disassemble it. So it wasn't as cool as, say, disassembling a Glock, because you can probably do that with your eyes closed, but it takes a little extra step. So basically, I have the slide removed, and I have the grip. So basically, it fits right into the bosses of this really nicely. You got it. There we go. So there's a boss that goes. Let me hold this toward the camera. There's a boss that goes basically behind the grip, underneath beaver tail, what you'd call it in the frame. And there's a boss that goes underneath the trigger guard against the front strap. And then it's not a boss, it's just a circular raised section that's molded right into it that goes in front of your trigger guard. So that holds your pistol perfectly level and gives you the ability to use this roll pin punch to drive out extra parts. And you can see that it is kind of molded with kind of crevices, and that catches the pins that you drive out. And there's also holes cut into it, so the longer pins just keep getting driven out and then get caught into the bottom half of the armor's block. So that's really handy. I found that someone who doesn't take their M&P pistol apart often, I found that to be a huge asset. And it's reversible, so if you need to flip the pistol over to get to a pin, drive it back in, or otherwise, you can just flip this around and use the bosses the same way, but just mirrored, flip your pistol over. So that's really cool. So I guess if I was to give like each one of these things or each one of these items an FI review, which I think I'll just kind of roll it all into one package and give it like an overall score. Um, but if I was to just rate the Armor's Block, I'd give it an 8. Um, it's really nice. If you were to do regular gunsmithing on your M&P pistol, whether it's a compact or a full size or a shield, I would recommend getting this Armor's Block standalone anyway, because it really helps. And they also have available additions for like getting when you have your trigger removed, and it's got that bar on there to kind of cradle the shoe of the trigger and help in driving out pins there too. So that's the Armor's Block. We talked about that. I can set that aside.
Yeah, that's I know it's kind of M&P specific, but I imagine it would probably come in handy for other firearms also to have something pretty stable like that to be able to punch pins through, right?
You know, I haven't. I actually, you know, you're smarter than me. I didn't even think about that. I didn't take like my Glock 19 and see how it fits in that Armor's Block, but because those bosses are movable, I was thinking suspicion that it would let you do that too. So one side of the block is really meant for the 45, and the other side is meant for 9, 40, and 357. But I found that you have the mirroring option for 9, 40, and 357. I think there's just a little bit more open for the 45. It's made in the USA. The MSRP on just the block alone, right now there's a sale price of $29.95 on Apex's website, and that's apextactical.com. I think that it's really useful to have, and it's ideal for do-it-yourself home gunsmiths, veteran gunsmiths, law enforcement, and military armorers, and gadget tool lovers, which I guess out of all those, I guess I'd be a gadget and tool lover. I'm not a gunsmith by any means. I'm a do-it-yourself gun breaker. My gunsmith could attest to that. But anyway,
you would be put in the category of a gunsmith revenue maker, right?
Yeah, exactly. I am the sales pitch for him. God, he has helped me so much when I break things. I mean,
instead of DIY, it's TIY. Try it yourself.
Yeah, try it yourself. There you go. You know, and they ship it out in just USPS priority, so it fits in most mailboxes. That's usually not something I mentioned, but it was kind of nice. So that covers the Armor's Block. So next is the aluminum action enhancement trigger, which is something that I think a lot of M&P owners, if you just haven't gotten used to your polymer trigger, maybe you're coming over from like a 1911 type, you're used to that. The trigger on the M&P, it's not something to write home about. It's something to write in about to Smith & Wesson and be like, hey, what the heck, man? But a lot of people love them. I mean, Jerry Michalik and all the other Smith & Wesson shooters, you know, they've used those triggers plenty. But getting this aluminum action enhancement trigger. Sorry, it's a little bit of a mouthful. Greatly improves the trigger on your M&P. So here it is on my M&P Compact. You can see that it's a little bit more angular instead of curved, and it has it's still got the trigger safety, but it's a paddle that's runs through the middle of the trigger, much like a Glock or a Springfield XD trigger safety. So it's no longer the factory M&P Smith & Wesson like hinged trigger, where you know the shoe is kind of bifurcated and the front end of the shoe is on like a hinge, and by applying pressure and there's enough leverage to kind of bring the lower part of the shoe in, which lifts like a little ledge that would actually hit the frame and prevent it from being fired if you didn't have the correct your finger, your booger hooker, and the bang switch. So this kind of goes back to the traditional. It's still safe, obviously. Obviously this pistol doesn't have a magazine in it, and it's unloaded. I've got no ammo, no NDs on this podcast.
Oh wait, so Ryan, you haven't had a desktop yet?
I have not. I have friends who have, and I aspire to not join their ranks.
Yeah.
So anyway, this trigger, I found putting it in there, we actually measured the trigger weight, and even though I think it's because the trigger safety, it kind of threw off the reading a little bit, but it was breaking at about 5 pounds, but it definitely feels lighter, and I'm not sure how I can accurately weigh the trigger pull weight because of the trigger safety mechanism, because it does not feel like 5 pounds at all. So, I'm just gonna, I guess, how's a good way to do this with the camera with my thumb? But it's just the creep is gone. That was in the original trigger, and the pull distance is shortened considerably. So it just went off. The reset, though, is where there's the most difference, and I'm not sure for the best yet. Maybe I think there's one more part I need to get from Apex to force the reset to be there, because it has no reset now. It had a very, very faint trigger reset before, and it was something that I kind of learned to just sense a little bit more, and just muscle memory, kind of how far you let out before you hit that reset. But now, not only is it intangible, but it's inaudible also. I mean, maybe if you, I can hear it, but it's like a mouse fart. It is just so light. Like there it was, and it's so short too. Like I'm not letting my trigger finger all the way out, which I found would be a sweet competition trigger. Not so sure about a duty carry pistol, because if you were shooting, and you had your finger riding the trigger, like you're used to shooting at the range, so you shoot, it goes off, and you're letting your trigger finger out to reset, or you're just trying to rapid fire put down the threat. That reset happens a lot quicker than you're used to, at least on the stock trigger, and you might actually have a double tap or two that you weren't intending. And of course, anytime you fire a round at your gun that you didn't, actually physically want, it's not a great thing. It's not a good thing at all. So I think that's what I'm missing, is just a forward set spring kit to force that forward resetting. They call it the reset assist mechanism. I think I need to get that too. So anyway, but the trigger is really nice. It's aluminum. One review that I found, they said that they put this kit in their Shield 40 as a 1911 shooter. Moving to any plastic gun is a challenge to shoot well. I am spoiled on the 1911 triggers. This kit comes close to what I am used to on a 1911. A bit more take-up, but otherwise smooth, light and crisp release and reset. My groups improved greatly and rival those of my 1911s. A bit pricey to pay $150 for a trigger on a $400 gun, but if this is your carry gun, it is worth it. So that was a Smith & Wesson Shield, and so his results were a little bit different than mine, because I have no reset anymore. And my gunsmith, actually, he called me when he had this installed, and he said, "Did your gun have a reset before?" I said, "Yeah, barely." He's like, "Well, I think it's gone now. It's there, but it's just, I don't think it could get any more minute, and I don't know if that's normal, so I have to talk to Apex about that." It's cool, but I carry this gun, and I obviously want it to be safe and legal. If I had to use it to protect myself or my loved ones, I obviously want to be able to tell the prosecutor why that trigger is the way it is, why I chose to modify it. and I think the way as it is now is not safe. So I'm carrying a different pistol until I can figure out just how I can get the reset a little bit the way it should be, and then be able to recite the verbiage and the reasoning why it is the way it is. I didn't make some baby killing machine. I'm sorry, that was a little profane. Some kind of rapidly firing pistol. So anyway, that's that. That duty/carry action enhancement kit was something that I also got. And so what that is, it is a lot of different parts that come together, and it's not all that difficult to put in. There's a rear sight pusher that fits into the dovetail, and you can drive out the rear sight after you remove the set screw, and that's so you can replace what's the official name for that? The striker block and the striker block spring. It's from Talon Tactical, so they call it the Talon Tactical tool. So that there's that step. They also give you a different sear spring, a ram spring. There's a trigger slave pin to help you reassemble and drive that slave pin out. So Apex says that it's a 4-pound rated trigger return spring with a 5.5-pound rated trigger. So maybe it's lighter, like in the 4-pound range, based on what their readings are. I found that taking the pistol apart and replacing the trigger return springs and the sear springs were easy to do. The hang-up that I had, honestly, is on their AEK trigger. There's a pin that they kind of pre-drive for you a little bit. So it's basically flush with the other side of the trigger. You can actually see it in the camera. So right in here, you see there's the black trigger, and then there's this kind of inset where there's a pin, and that's where the trigger bar connects. That pin is kind of started for you, and you're supposed to take your old trigger off of the trigger bar, and then place the new trigger in there, and then drive that pin forward, and then it captures the trigger bar onto the new trigger. I found that I could not move that thing with my punches, and I moved up in hammers, and I was wailing out that thing with the largest mallet I have, and I could not move it an inch, and I actually broke a punch, and that's where I got hung up. And then I took the trigger to my vise, and I very slightly used my vise to kind of drive that pin a little bit. I thought, like, if I could just start it, a micrometer, that might provide more friction. Maybe it was just kind of, locked up a little bit. Well, actually, I did it just a little bit too much where I could not get the trigger bar into the trigger anymore. So Apex is probably hearing this, and they're laughing at me or kind of scratching the head. I took it to my gunsmith, and I said, dude, I cannot move that pin at all. And he couldn't hardly either. He was like, man, I don't know what was up with that pin, but that was very stubborn. So I'm thinking just super tight tolerances. I watched the YouTube videos, and I watched guys move that pin with the very minimal force with the right punch and just gunsmithing hammer. So I'm not sure why it was so difficult on mine. Luckily, I was smart enough to stop before I put a big old gouge in the finish on this aluminum trigger. But that was my biggest hang-up. I don't know. I think that might have just been a very unique circumstance. I don't think it's anything about quality assurance or quality control. It's just I haven't read anybody else that problem. It was just that pin did not want to move. It was almost like it was welded right into the trigger. So based on that, I mean, that kind of affected my review because I was sweating bullets and getting really frustrated. So if I would have to give the kit, the trigger and the whole kit a rating, I would give that like a 7.5, 7.5. So combined with the armor's block and averaging it out, I'd give everything an 8.0. I think it's a great enhancement to your M&P pistol. I think that having gunsmithing experience is going to be great. They cover all the installations on their YouTube channel with their staff, and I think that's enough to get you by if you have the right punches, and you have the armor's block and you have the time and the patience. But I just ran into kind of a unique hookup that needed professional help. So if you have an M&P shield, they do have specifically these modifications available for the shield. If you have just a regular service M&P or M&P compact, you're going to want to make sure that you don't order the shield models. You order the regular M&P kits. So just to make sure I didn't miss anything in the review, the claim to fame is obviously greatly improving the factory trigger and performance from your M&P and M&P shield pistols. The target market is M&P owners, both concealed carrying for their duty carry kits and competitive for their just action enhancement kits. If you want to just be a better target shooter, or maybe competitive 3-gun IPSC shooter with your M&P. Features and benefits, the armor's block is basically the biggest benefit. You gotta make sure you order that separately. It doesn't come with everything. But it's nice to have that Talon tool is a benefit that's added to the kit that helps you drive out your rear sight. No other aesthetic options available. I read what one person said about the trigger, and the price point of the trigger kit, the duty/carry action enhancement kit has an MSRP of $92.95. The M&P aluminum action enhancement trigger is $76.95. And the armor's block was $29.95. So if you need it now, go to Apex. Brownells, we'll have some links. Brownells has the trigger. They don't have all of the sets, so if you have a shield, or you might want to just go right to Apex's website. Their shipping was pretty reasonable too, and got it right out to me. So yeah, overall, I'm going to average everything and give it an 8. So.
Yeah, I've heard some pretty good things about those Apex trigger kits, but what you mentioned about the reset seemed a little odd to me, because it seemed like, from what I heard, the Apex was supposed to add a more reset to the M&Ps, which are, as I've heard, I've never shot an M&P, so I'm not entirely sure from experience, but I've heard they're not very obvious, kind of like a Glock might be. So I thought that's what the Apex was to be for.
I thought that too, and that's the original reason why I got the Apex stuff. So it makes me think whether I installed something incorrectly, or maybe I was missing a part, or I, through my own negligence, didn't order the correct part. Just the forward set spring or whatnot. So I'm going to follow up with them and see what I did incorrectly, because from other people that I've talked to that have this kit in their guns, it gives it a more audible reset, and is much more desirable with someone that's familiar with other pistols and their trigger reset. So stay tuned for an update to that review.
Okay, yeah, I look forward to that. I'll actually probably be planning on sending my my newly acquired revolver to Apex next year sometime to get some work done on it. So
they do more than just M&Ps, obviously. So
right,
check them out. The Tech Gadget app product this week, it's Tracking Point, and it's the PGF. and that's precision-guided firearm. I think we talked about Tracking Point products on this segment before in the past, but now Tracking Point is actually combining their optics with the firearms, and so it's all one package, and the firearm is actually integrated with the optic with the digital connection. So there's different calibers and configurations, and the price points are all extremely reasonable if you're expendable income and have a lot of money to blow. I think the regular 5.56, let's see, what do they call that? The Tracking Point SA556 NATO is just shy of $10,000, so $9,995. So prefacing this with all you guys that complain about if I talk about something that's way out of their price range, this is going to be another one of those. So I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, Ryan. How many paintball guns do you need to trade for that?
Let's see. If I move 1-0 from the decimal point, pretty much 1,000. Yeah. So what it is, and they've got an awesome video. I'm putting the video in the show notes. They made a very corny, tongue-in-cheek video about the Alamo in Texas, and basically, I think Boone or Crockett shows up with, they're outnumbered, and Santa Antana's coming, and they're worried, and all of a sudden it's like, oh hey, why don't you use these, boys? And it's some Tracking Point precision-guided firearms, and they take out all the invading Mexican military forces, and the Alamo is saved, altering history. It's very tongue-in-cheek, but I think it's worth a watch. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, so,
go ahead.
It was pretty funny. I saw that last week.
So basically, this is their scopes integrated right with the guns, which is the triggers interface with the scopes. There's a button on the trigger guard that interfaces with the scope, as well as the triggers. So it's the same tag and shoot technology found in fighter jets, and it allows you to place perfect impacts on targets out to 500 yards, moving as fast as 10 miles per hour. It's got an advanced target tracking technology and a comprehensive purpose-built shooting system right into the platform. So basically, you can tag targets with the scope, and when you're ready to engage, it actually will. Does it not let you fire until you're perfectly on the target, or?
Yeah, I think you tag, like, let's say you're shooting at a man target. You tag center of the chest, and you kind of sway around like you're going to do at a distance, and then you hold the trigger down until that crosshair passes back over that tagged center chest marker, and then it goes off. I'm pretty sure. We'll have to get some more information from some of the guys that went to SHOT Show last year, because I know a few of our network members got to shoot one last year.
Or they need to just send us one.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
So they call it, trigger control. So there's a free fire mode, obviously, to do things manually, and then there's a tag button. There is the tracking scope has a network capability built right into it. I think we talked about their apps before, to where you can actually see with the app on a device what the scope's looking at.
Yeah, I think you can sync it with like an iPad or something like that, so you could have your tablet in your lap and just stick the rifle around the corner and see exactly what the rifle's seeing.
Yeah, but so they got a video on their website, and it's an awesome video. Actually shows somebody in the field with the AR model, and there's coyotes in the field. So basically, they tag the target, the coyote, with the tagging button on the trigger guard, and it puts a red dot on that coyote. And as that coyote's running or moving, the scope keeps track of the coyote, and that red dot is always on the coyote. I'm assuming as long as it doesn't run behind like a large boulder or something. So then basically, once you're ready to fire, like TJ said, I think you hold the trigger and the color of the reticle changes, and so then it compensates for how fast the target's moving and the sway of your scope as you're trying to lead it or get your crosshairs on that moving target. And as soon as they intersect, lightning fast computing speed, it sends a round downrange. So they shoot a couple coyotes that are kind of galloping at a good pace, using that technology, and it's kind of infrared and shows that actually filmed through the scope, and it is almost unfair for hunting, but it is still pretty awesome. So it's kind of like you're in a fighter jet. You're locking onto your target, and the MiG's coming in, and as soon as the MiG gets in the center, Fox 1, Fox 2, you fire the missiles.
So yeah, I think maybe Magpul beat them to the punch with their tagline of unfair advantage. Huh?
Yeah, seriously, right? So they're doing these in firearms packages, and there's a couple to choose from. There's of course the tracking point SA556. There's a SA300 Blackout. That's of course chambered in everyone's favorite round, 300 Blackout. There's also the XS1 338 Lapua Magnum. Oh. And there's the XS2 and 300 Win Mag. Oh. And then there's an XS3 that's also in 300 Win Mag. It's kind of got a cool, more traditional stock, not so skeletonized, kind of a more traditional rifle stock. They got another one in 300 Winchester Magnum, 308 in a bolt-action rifle. It looks like a Remington 700 platform, or released action. And then they have a 7.62 AR. So it's the TPSA 7.62 NATO. Because of the demand for these, what they're claiming that the demand is, you actually have to apply, you have to submit an application to buy one of these. But you can click on Learn More to see the price point of it.
Do they screen their applications and say, you don't need one right now? What's this application like?
I don't know. I don't know if you need a background check to get one of these, obviously. And for a Hollywood director, this is like, a dream come true for something high tech that's on the loose and an assassin that some main character has to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you don't need a real one for that. Not for the movie.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. So, there's the bolt action ones, which of course the scopes are meant for longer range. So let's just take a look at the 338 Lapua one, since that one's probably got the most range. So it says it's got an effective range of 1,200 yards, and it features their longest parallax-free zoom, 6 to 35 times zoom, which is like really sweet.
I don't know of any traditional scopes. That's a wide range.
Yes, it is. So they, some of their systems come with a carrying case that the foam's been cut out for all of these little goodies, the batteries, the chargers. I think even the XS1 338 Lapua even comes with 200 rounds of 300 grain Sierra open tip match exact shot ammunition by Barnes. So sweet. Comes with ammo.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. See
I would assume then that's the ammo they recommend.
Yeah.
Running it with.
And they don't have the MSRP on this one. I only saw MSRPs on. I checked the AR and 5.56 and the last one, the 7.62. That had a price range or an MSRP of $14,995. They've got Tracking Point's logo engraved on the side of the receiver of the ARs, and on the stocks of the traditional bolt-action rifles. It's pretty awesome. I mean, the price is way out of my range, but to think that this has the military application, it's a little scary to think about.
Yeah, well, you say it's out of your price range, but just think in another 10 years where this technology is going to be, it might actually be in, you got to think the first computers cost thousands of dollars, whereas you can get a laptop for $300 today. It's gonna see that same trend at some point where the technology is going to be cheaper, so the more layman might be able to afford it rather than the guy that flies his helicopter around to go on his exotic hunting trips and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the AR-10 model, I guess that's in 308.762, that's got a range of about 800 yards with targets that's moving fast as 15 miles per hour.
Wait, did you say 15, 1.5 or 5.0? 50.
1.5
Okay.
miles per hour.
I thought you said 50.
If it's shooting targets going 50 miles an hour, that's a whole other story. That's pretty awesome.
Still, 15. That's impressive.
Yeah, there's a lot of features to these that you really have to look at yourself, because I mean, we'd be talking for a couple more hours about all the features that are on these. Each one of these has something different as far as like advanced armament, blackout muzzle brakes, Harris bipods. I mean, it is a complete rifle. It comes with everything you need, and you'd be hard-pressed to find something you wanted to put on after you got this thing, because they look pretty complete to me.
Yeah, Jake actually interviewed the founder, didn't he, a few weeks ago on Gun Guy Radio?
I have to catch up. I'd take your word for it.
Okay, I believe he did. If he didn't, don't hate, but I think he did.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing technology. And unfortunately, hopefully it does catch up, and one of us would be able to afford it, and then let everybody try it. Hunting applications, I know in my state, you wouldn't be able to. In Washington, they do not like anyone having a technological advantage in the field, having a tracking point scope. If there isn't a law already on the books saying you cannot use one of these hunting, there will be shortly.
I'm fairly certain this would be fair game in my state, though. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it might be.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about shooting big game is it's shot placement. Obviously, you want to get in the vitals. So that would be the thing, is if you can tag a deer, obviously, but if it's moving, can you tag it in the kill zone, in the lungs and the heart area, or is it just going to tag any part of the chest cavity of the deer and then shoot when you align those? So that would be one thing I would see. Obviously, shooting coyotes, it's got a smaller body, and really anywhere you hit it with the right round, it's going to be devastating.
Yeah, I had always kind of wondered that whenever, I guess, because like I said, I've never tried one. Maybe it's kind of one of those aha moments when you actually shoot it, it comes to light. But it just seems to me, like you said, is it able to pinpoint like a 4-inch circle? Is it able to guarantee that you're going to hit that moving deer within that kill zone? Kind of like and then another issue I believe is if you can hold the gun steady enough to tag it in the right spot, why can't you hold it steady enough to shoot it in the right spot?
Well, because maybe you're still maybe it's in a group of bucks and you're identifying which one you want to take, or you're looking at the antlers and counting the points. Maybe you can tag it and it's moving, but it just walked behind a doe. Obviously, you want to wait till it gets clear. But I mean, if it's keeping track of that moving deer and it's keeping that dot in relatively the same, let's just say 2-inch spot, it's too bad there's not like a video game D-pad where you can, kind of follow that deer in your scope, but move that point up and down. Not saying that you would move it up and to the right until it was lined up and tracking the head, so you can snipe a headshot. This ain't Call of Duty. But if it was a little bit forward in the shoulder or back in the guts, obviously you'd be able to manually bump that point of impact, to the sweet spot while it's still moving.
I imagine some of their higher end models
that's
probably
that's a whole lot of stuff that, people have been killing deer for centuries. Just do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
But still cool. Look it up for yourself. Check out the Alamo video. It's pretty hilarious. So the website for that is tracking-point.com, and it's all over the thing. Precision guided firearms. So there's no listener feedback this week. So
actually, Ryan, real quick,
go ahead,
we
buddy.
did have one piece of listener feedback from Nick over at the Practically Tactical show. Emailed us right when we started the show. The subject of the email was "I hate you both." The body was "Both traded a Glock for a revolver. OMG! Why do you guys hate me and want me to have a heart attack?" All caps with exclamation points. So apparently Nick isn't too happy with our This Week in Guns.
That's amazing feedback. That's like calling into a radio station. Dude, man, like, what else you got going on a Tuesday?
Well, I emailed him back a little while ago, and he hasn't responded, so he might not be live anymore. But like I told him, I can always buy another Glock, and maybe if there's a certain friend of the show that could maybe get me cost on a Glock, I might get a new one sooner. Hint, hint, cough, cough.
I might have a guy for you. I use, and he's kind of he's over on your side of the country, but I'll talk to you about that later. Anyway, yeah. I mean, sorry, dude. Glocks suck. Revolvers rule. I mean, who can argue with that? That's pretty funny. I thought he died of a cocaine overdose. That's why he left the show so early last week.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess they have a cure for that now.
He pulled through. Congratulations. Anyway, so that was our listener feedback. So the podcast that we want to plug this week, again, is the Power Factor Show. They joined the network, but they had quite a lot of popularity and shows before they even joined our family. It is a great podcast to listen to for everything competitive shooting, IPSC, IDPA, 3-gun, all like the gear and the training drills, dry firing, and drills to be a better competitor. They know a lot, and they're really good guys to listen to. So make sure you go over to www.powerfactorshow.com and give that a listen. Make sure you subscribe and listen to all the other podcasts on the Firearms Radio Network. Send questions or comments to podcast@firearmsinsider.tv or myself, cross@firearmsradio.tv. Check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network at firearmsradio.tv/iTunes, and be sure to visit the Firearms Insider for reviews and industry coverage and SHOT Show coverage. I'm definitely going to be going this year, so stay tuned for that. I'll be bringing you guys gun and gear coming out for this next year. It's going to be awesome. So once again, TJ, thanks for joining me on the show. It's always great having you on.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. It was a good time talking with you and discussing some cool new products.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for joining me on these podcasts as of late. Let's keep going for another awesome 50 and make them count.
Yep, definitely.
So everyone have a great week. Shoot safe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
All right, you too, Ryan.
Yep.